Auntie G and Mumsy B from the Blackthorn Path here,
inviting you to join us Sunday evenings for an hour of magic and myth,
story and songs,
spells, rituals and recipes,
and a whole lot more. That's the Blackthorn Path.
Sundays at 8 Eastern, 7 Central
on CJMarsRadio.com.
You are listening to WCJV Digital Broadcasting, Youngstown, New York.
Truth, cover-ups, lies, and in-between, conspiracies, and those who dare to speak the truth. Get ready for a walk on the wild side. Welcome to Parley with your host, Michael Gray.
Hi, all. Hey, this is Mike Gray here at WCJV Digital Broadcasting, Youngstown, New York, CJ Mars Radio. This is Parley. I'm your host, and we have a really great show again for you. Every time we have a great show. We have with us today, or tonight, or whenever you happen to be listening, Casey Brown. Hey, Casey, you there?
Yeah, hi. How are you?
Hey, man. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me on the show, Michael.
Oh, cool. And I just want to plug your YouTube channel here. You're with Enterthe5t4rz, but the way you spell it is enter the, and then it's 5 instead of an S, and T
right.
and 4RZ. So Enterthe5t4rz, but Enter the Stars. And I think that has to do with gematria, right? Is that how you pronounce that word?
Yeah, actually it doesn't. And people have mistakenly thought that it stood for that. At the time, I had no idea what gematria was when I came up with my channel name. It was actually some research that I was doing in a channel I used to follow called Starscream early on in my awakening. And I kind of borrowed the way that he used those numbers and letters. The star portion of my name. Right. Yeah, but since then I've come a long way in my awakening and understanding and learning exactly how all this stuff fits together.
Okay, cool. Okay. So yeah, what's interesting is looking at your channel, I stumbled onto it thanks to KJ Osborne, who also has a channel called The Scariest Movie Ever. So I want to plug his YouTube channel. He mentioned you and or your channel, and I started looking at your videos, and I was like, wow, this is you've got some pretty interesting stuff here. And I would recommend everyone go to Enterthe5t4rz on YouTube and check out some of your videos. And initially I wanted to get you on for your gematria videos because they intrigued me. But
Sure.
Then I called you, contacted you, and we talked about a lot of stuff. So I want to get into that as well. So where do you want to start? Is there anything on your mind or your heart? How do you want to start off? You want to get into the gematria a little bit and then the other stuff, or you tell me?
Let's talk about that because it's probably a point that needs to be clarified. I'm not into as much of the gematria part of this. I do believe there are some synchronicities with the numbers, but more so I kind of uncover the actual fabric of everything that comes through our senses in the media. So I just don't want to get that confused with gematria because gematria can have connotations of divination and things like that I just don't.
Yeah. You're not a numerologist, in other words.
No. I just simply identify their numerology. And here's the thing, and this is good that we're talking about this because what can happen is, especially, fundamentalist Christians can get turned off by channels like mine because we go outside the box. The box being the crackerjack version of religion, of spirituality that we're all fed. And it has its place, and so I'm not knocking that. But then at a certain point, you need more spiritual food that kind of transcends what we get at the church level. And I know this because I was a Jehovah's Witness my whole life, and then Seventh-day Adventist. And it didn't have the power in my life that it needed to have and that it should have. And that's why you have to go outside and you have to understand the Bible on the deeper levels that they're not going to teach you. But basically what I do, okay, so here's the thing. People ask me, well, why do you do this? Why do you uncover all these things? The thing is that how many of us go to movies in this country? Probably 80% of people. How many of us watch television? 80% of people. How much of us listen to the radio? This stuff is all around us. And so you have two choices. Either you listen to it and watch it without knowing what it means and without knowing how it's going to affect you, or you start to understand why they're putting this occult symbolism in here. Why, and then from that point, you become immune somewhat to the effect of it. Now, all this is based, on Bible prophecy, of course, about the increase in knowledge in the last days, and that nothing that was hidden will remain hidden. And that's what we do on the channel is we pull this stuff apart. That way it neutralizes the effect. If it was up to me, I would tell everyone not to ever watch TV, but we got to be realistic. We're kind of all hooked. We're a hooked nation on television.
Well, definitely, there's a guy by the name of The Black Child on YouTube, and he really gets into how how the TV, it's hypnotic. All the swirling, like on the news, all the swirling, the intros and the, all the bumper kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
How it's all like clockwise swirls, and how it has a hypnotic effect, and also the flicker rate of the TV. Especially the old tube ones, where there was like a flicker that you couldn't see, but another camera could pick it up. That also has almost a hypnotic effect,
And it goes deeper than that, Michael. It goes much deeper because I did a video actually talking about the technology of your television. And from as far as I can tell, the television is a crystal ball. It is your window into an alternate reality. Quite literally.
Didn't they say, I hate to interrupt you and I got to criticize for that, but they say that the person, the scientist or the engineers that when they invented the cathode ray tubes, they were for like seances, right? Or to contact the other side?
Yeah, that was the very first use of the television, was to contact spirits. But then from there, I actually have a degree in graphic communication and a concentration in design reproduction technology. And at the time I got my degree, I had no idea what this world was about. And so I feel like every step in my life has kind of been pointing me in this direction. So I learned color theory, and I learned color theory on paper and color theory through your television. There are two different distinct color models. The one on paper is a CMYK model, which they use refractive light bouncing back to your eye with this cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. But when you're looking at a television, it actually requires complete darkness within that tube, and it works off of a red, green, and blue color model. And so you have red, green, and blue lights, and they're made out of phosphorus. And phosphorus, according to the definition in Wikipedia, means Lucifer, the light bearer. And then what does the Bible say? It says when he will transform himself into an angel of light to deceive, if he could, even the elect. And that's what he does. You stick your cord in, light comes in, excites the phosphors, they glow, the red, blue, and green, and out comes your image. Now, to take it a step further, regarding the analogy of the crystal ball, what do we all do with our touch pads? We're touching them, right? So in effect, you're basically communing with the spirit world in a very it seems like an innocent way, but when you really think about it, that's what's actually going on.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty deep stuff. Furthermore, there's a screen. Okay, all these red, green, and blue phosphor cells behind your screen that are excited by electricity. basically they exist on a screen. That kind of reminds me of kind of the firmament that's talked about, and that's where we get into the inside of the eyeball. And I know we'll probably get into that pretty soon here too. We made a huge discovery about 3 weeks ago on my channel regarding the inner eye being an analogy to the life of Christ, which is pretty fascinating.
Right. And also on the channels, you got a lot of where you're decoding movies, the hidden meaning in movies too. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, we really need to do this because people are not going to stop watching movies. Okay, so when you sit in front of, when you go to a movie and you come away, and all that you come away with was that kind of buzzed feeling that was so entertaining, Jurassic World, and I like that actor, and wow, I'm going to go now buy a poster of that actor, and you walk away and you miss all of the subliminals that you were just bombarded with. That has to have some kind of effect on you. So what I do is I unpack the movie. I go, okay, boom, this was here and there. This was the deception of the movie, because you have to know the deception, right? If you're going to go watch the movie and enjoy it, you should at least know what the deception is in the movie, okay? Deceptions are included, some of them make you feel sorry for Lucifer. There's a lot of movies out there that get you to feel sorry for him in a situation and being thrown out of heaven and all those things. Now, it doesn't come across that way in the story, but subliminally, that's the storyline. They just change the names of the characters, change the plot a little bit, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're starting to go, well, maybe Lucifer's not such a bad guy. Maybe he got a bad rap. Maybe, this is what the enemy does.
Yeah, well, if anyone wants to Skype in, you can Skype in at Cindy Jean-Pierre. That's Cyndi Jean-Pierre, JOHNPIER. Or you can call in at 716 if you have any questions. 716-745-4266. That's 716-745-4266. We'll be taking any questions. Let me check, and I'll be checking the chat regularly to see if there are any questions in the chat. But, we had a 2-hour conversation the other night when I talked to you, and, we talked about how who is putting all this hidden symbols in the movies? It's the director, is it the writer, is it clearly the director and the cinematographer? Are they in on it? They're in on it, right?
There's a couple key players in this that definitely know what's going on. That would be the prop master. They're the ones that put in all of the props that you see. A great example of the prop master's role in this was the Sandy Hook incident. And in the film, the Batman film, they show a map of Sandy Hook, and the guy puts his finger right on the map where it says Sandy Hook. And this all happened before Sandy Hook happened. Well, that prop master ended up dead. They killed him. He got in like a car accident. He had a scrape on his head or something like that. Nothing majorly wrong with him. And they killed him. Okay, so they.
So now wait. Now was he warned? Now okay, you have some people saying he was warning us, which I don't think. I mean, if you want to warn somebody, you make a phone call. You call a bunch of people and say, hey, there's going to something go down at Newtown, Connecticut. Right. You know what I mean. So I don't see that. Them as warning anybody. That's not warning somebody.
No.
That's playing games.
Right. You got a couple different scenarios. One, the prop master might be like a novice or whatever you call it, and is just getting into the game, and they're kind of waiting to break the news to him that this is what this is about, because it's all about satanic cult. What people don't realize is that Lucifer controls every mainstream movie you watch. Every single one. And I've only come to that determination after decoding 1,000 films, and every single one of them had this hidden symbolism in it. I mean, they're putting things at certain timestamps. 88 minutes into a movie, I always find something dealing with the number 88 or something else very profound, a 9/11 reference, something. They also they like to use their numbers. They like to use when the film released. They like to use the birthdays of the actors. All these things synchronize. A good example of this is a film that released on 9/11 that I just decoded a few days ago. what was it? The Gate. No, actually, the director was born on 9/11 in the Gate film that came out in 1987, which was the exact halfway point to 9/11. It opened,
Right.
World Trade Center opened in 1973. 14 years later, 1987, The Gate released. The director was born on 9/11. 14 years later, the towers fell down.
Yeah. Now, and just to not to interrupt you, but just to add to that is that the Pentagon was dedicated September 11th, 1941. That was when they broke the, what do you call it, when they have the dedication to the building? When they broke ground.
Yeah.
They have that ceremony of breaking ground, with the golden shovel and whatnot. Yeah. September 11th, 1941. Yeah.
Wow. And these, for the normal person that has the 9-to-5 job, 2 kids, a car payment, a mortgage, they might understand the synchronicity that you just cited, and they might say, that's gotta be a coincidence. But then people like me who have invested my entire life into this work, when you see all the synchronicities strung together, then you understand that there is something greater at work here. And that's where it gets crazy. Because I should be dead right now with all the information I've uncovered, but I'm not, because I'm spiritually protected, because this work needs to get done. Nothing I do helps the powers that be. It only exposes them. It shows what they do, that our whole society is based on ritual sacrifice. Many of the children that go missing are because of ritual sacrifice. And once people start to wake up to that and understand that this isn't some benevolent government, that all of this is based on Lucifer at the top pulling all the strings, then and only then will you understand that Jesus is real too, and you need to run to his arms, basically.
Hey, we got a question in the chat, and I don't want to ignore the chat room or the people in the chat. Pablo4U2 has a question, and he or she writes, well, I have a question. On the moon's phases, Casey says, it's the Earth's hill? I am having a problem with that because the phases are on one side of the moon for a week or so and then switch to the other side of the moon.
Yeah, because the moon is always opposite, or more often than not, opposite of the sun. The reflection of the sun onto the moon is what causes the moon phases. So the sun, imagine a dance. 2 people walk into a dance room and they're circling the dance room. That's the sun and the moon. He's talking about the lens Earth too. We can get into that whenever you're ready. Would this be a good time to do that?
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
Keep in mind now, last week I had got a gentleman by the name of Crow, who goes by the handle Crow777, who caught a lunar wave where the moon's surface did a wavy thing,
Right.
And it's on YouTube, and so a lot of people are speculating that the moon isn't even what we're told it is, a ball, circling, rotating around the Earth, and that we're spinning around the sun, or revolving and rotating around the sun. That it's just a projection or some type of, what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because
a hologram. Who knows?
Yeah, and I respect Crow's work, and he did capture something. That is he's proven that it's has nothing to do with any digital effect. It is a real wave. My guess, and the only reason why I know the moon is real, is because the Book of Enoch says it's real, and all of the information that's been exposed from the Book of Enoch, and we can go into that a little bit later too. But
when you say real, what do you? It's a sphere.
I don't know if it's a sphere, because Enoch doesn't say it's a sphere. What it says is that it rides on its own gate, its own wind, and that it comes out of a secret gate. Whereas the sun's gate, which we'll talk about the path of the sun, it identifies that gate, and it talks about it going up through the north and coming back to return in the east. So basically the sun makes a figure 8. It actually disappears for a split second, or whatever you want to call it. And it does actually rise in the east. That's why they call Japan the land of the rising sun, because that's where the sun comes out of. Now, I don't know exactly where that is, but if you look at the anti-meridian on a Google Earth map, why is the anti-meridian go right through where the sun would come out of that gate? which is what the Book of Enoch says.
Okay, so just to be clear, you're not a flat earther, you're a concave guy. You think that the Earth is more concave?
Yeah, I think to clarify that more, it's actually convex. So it looks like a contact lens. And I believe Mark Sargent kind of agrees with this. He thinks it's more of a roulette wheel.
Like a roulette wheel, yeah. That it bulges in the center, and then it kind of like a roulette wheel, and that Antarctica actually is the outer boundary. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I believe in the outer boundary. The only difference between his model and mine is that instead of the Earth curving back up at the ends, it just curves down like a contact lens. That's exact shape. And the way that we were able to visualize this is by looking inside of the human eye. And if you think about it, if you were the creator of anything and you wanted it to last several thousand years, you would do something that only you knew how to do, like creation, for instance. And you would hide that message in that creation. The eye, the human eye, and the brain are the two most advanced pieces or advanced organs, the entire genome of creation. And so those are the two witnesses. And the inner eye actually is like a disco globe with reflective surface inside of it. And that's why we get the pattern of the stars that we see in the night sky at the equator. We actually see the stars going up in the east and then going clockwise in one hemisphere. And when you look to the other hemisphere, it goes counterclockwise. So we get this reflective effect. Now, that effect can be recreated with a model of the inner eye and you standing on the surface of the back of the lens inside the eye and looking up in the night sky. If you imagine that the inside of that eyeball, which is like the where the retina is and the outer walls of the eyeball, imagine that being a reflective surface, like if you're standing inside of a disco globe with mirrors in it. And when you do that, it actually duplicates. It's not the same or similar. It duplicates what the night sky looks like at the equator. So the equator is halfway from the bottom of the contact lens to the top of the contact lens. People ask, how do you get seasons? You get seasons because the sun rotates around on a track, just like the United Nations model. Okay, and if it's on the outer track, on the outside of the contact lens, then it's over Antarctica, right? Because that's where the ring is. You get summer in Antarctica. You get 24-hour daylight. But what happens in Antarctica while that sun's going over Antarctica during the summer? What's happening in Arctica? In Arctica, or in the Arctic Circle, they have 24 hours of night, right? Because they're not seeing the sun, because the sun is behind the curvature of the contact lens. So right. You see, the contact lens solves all the problems of the flat Earth. It even lunar eclipses. People are like, well, how do you get a lunar eclipse with a flat Earth? You don't. There's nothing to shadow the moon. The only way you get a lunar eclipse is with a contact lens-shaped Earth. And we're living on the outside surface of that. We're not under a dome. We're actually under a dome. That's the inner eye, but that's much further away, and that's where the stars are. Okay, the stars and the sun are on the same track, according to the Book of Enoch. And that's why when you look at the sun, it never gains or loses on the stars behind it. So in other words, if you could see the sun during the day and see the stars behind it, there's no difference in the speed. Now, when I did the mathematical equation on how much closer the sun is than the stars, it's astronomical. It's almost infinite. The sun is like sticking your hand in front of your face, and then imagine you're in New York, right? So imagine you got your hand in front of your face, and behind your hand is California. That's how much farther the next star is to the sun if you're standing on planet Earth. So why isn't the sun detaching from the backdrop of the stars? That's the question. It's like you're driving down a freeway, and
so is the sun not? So they tell us in science that the sun is 93 million miles away.
That's what they tell us.
But then the flat earthers, according to the flat earthers, it's only 32 miles, and it isn't as big as they say.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Using the calculations they give us with 93 million miles, even with that, it's still, like I said, like having your hand in front of your face, and then California is behind it. But if you use the calculations that I think are much more realistic, more like it's just outside of our atmosphere, and I've seen great videos of balloons that have gone up, and they actually show the sun, the light shining directly down from the source.
Right, and it shows like a spotlight, yeah.
Yes, exactly. It's not rays coming out from a long distant star. It's shining directly down from on top of the. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
that's what I'm saying. In other words, basically, I'm to the point where, you know, I grew up looking at all the Hubble's. You know, Hubble went up in 90s, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even before that, you know, I grew up looking at all those colored pictures of the nebulas, and you know, I got a kick out of looking at pictures of stars and like you know, those pictures of space, right, and all the stars and the planets and all that, and all the, you know, the pictures the probes would take, and I think it's all lies.
It is.
It's all made up.
If you take the word NASA, and you'll see there's like a chevron, and there's like a star orbit thing, that you can turn that into a T, and so then when you scramble the word NASA, it spells Satan.
Wow, really?
Yeah. So, I mean, look, they're all about deception. Okay, you want to know what orbit is? Orbit is the stillness of the vortex, okay? If you go into the eye of a storm, it's perfect stillness, okay? That's what keeps the water on the surface of the contact lens. Also, you have surface tension, okay? But really what it is, it's a vortex coming down from heaven. What people don't understand is God has everything in balance. He is an active force on this planet, basically making the train of nature happen. Your heartbeat, chemical reactions, he's the life force. And so, you know, when people don't believe in God, it's not that he's killing you, it's you're cutting your own umbilical cord. You're saying, you know, I'm done and I don't really want to acknowledge who's making my heartbeat. And so, therefore, God just lets you have your way, pretty much, is what's going to happen. But back to the vortex, this is interesting because I looked at some of the physics of a tornado, for instance, and there's a lot of static electricity and some very bizarre phenomenon that happens around tornadoes. And, you know, you see straw going through telephone poles. I believe the same technology was used to dustify the Twin Towers. And I believe that it came from Brookhaven. I believe that it was some kind of vortex, directed vortex.
Like an energy weapon, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And we did a video showing how Brookhaven was actually pointing to the World Trade Center, and that all the cars that were burned out existed on two streets that pointed right back to Brookhaven, and that the Brookhaven was also at an angle. I mean, when you build a super collider, you don't put it at an angle. You make it level. Why is it at an angle towards the World Trade Center at a focal point of about 100 feet above the top of the tower? And why just past the tower are there two football, what do they call it, where you kick the field goal? The buildings are shaped like a field goal, like we just made a field goal. I mean, it's unbelievable. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on that we don't know, and it's all based in, you know, the occult and sacrifice. Nothing's changed. We live in Egypt. The World Trade Center footprint is the three pyramids of Egypt now. You have the two empty World Trade Center towers. You have the new Freedom Tower. They're in a layout like Orion's Belt, which is the three pyramids in Egypt. It was opened one day before, the new Freedom Tower was opened one day before Egyptian Valentine's Day. And the anti-date of that day is February 26th, which was the date of the 1993 World Trade Center bombing.
Wow. Casey, hold on. Sure. I just want to do the call letters of the station. You are listening to WCJV Digital Broadcasting, Youngstown, New York, CJ Mars Radio. I'm Mike Ray, your host. This is Parley. We'll be, and we're here with Casey Brown, our very special guest, who has the goes by the YouTube handle of Enterthe5t4rz, and having a real good conversation here. And let's just see if we're going to go to break. No break. Yeah, we're not. Casey, you don't need to break, do you?
Okay. No, I'm good.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And let's see if we have any questions. Do we have any questions from the chat? And I just want to give the call letters, if you have any questions and you want to call in and talk to Casey or myself, the number to call in is 716-745-4266. That's 716-745-4266. Or you could Skype in to Cindy Jean-Pierre, and she will be happy to put you through. And we're getting comments like, Casey is the man. Thank you, Elias. Just looking here.
You know, one of the neat things about kind of what's going on the channel is that we get everybody involved in this process. Probably 50% of the material that comes into my channel comes from everybody that comes to the channel. And they're like, hey, Case, look at this. Check this out. I'll give you an example. Someone asked me to look at the Toyota badge on the Toyota trucks. And I discovered that badge is the path of the sun. And Toyota's from the land of the rising sun. And the OYO in the word Toyota is the night sky. That is the twin opposed vortexes, the owl eyes that you see at the equator. It's all hidden right in plain sight.
Right. So, I mean, I know you're not. Do you know Nicholson, 1968, right? He goes by the handle.
Yeah, we're buds. He's a great guy.
Yeah, good guy. A lot of his videos are about transhumanism and this black programmable matter. Where the elite want to merge in the whole transhumanism movement. It's funny now, we're taught everything is about transgender. Mm-hmm. And it's like that word is now prime, transgender, and then they're going to make the jump to transhumanism. You know what I mean? It almost seems like trans, that word trans, transition. They're teaching us that our sex no longer matters. If we're interchangeable, we could be a man or a woman or a man. Do you know what I mean?
Right. And
the Illuminati's goal to make us androgynous.
Right. Like.
Yeah, and not only that, but to the next thing is, we have gay rights, which is fine, whatever. But the next thing is going to be the rights of pedophiles.
Right.
Okay? And then it's almost going to be a society. The society they want is a society where anything goes.
Do what thou wilt.
Yeah, do what thou wilt. All right. But you could see here their ultimate goal is to have us be like cyborgs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why they put so much money behind the amputee agenda. Okay, it's not because they want to help amputees. They actually encourage amputees. That's why they never, reinforce the soldiers, Humvees and all that. Then they can experiment on them with their transhumanism stuff. And I was able to prove this. I actually.
Well, I'll tell you, you're right, and I'll tell you why. There were parents whose sons or daughters went to Iraq, and they were willing to buy the Dragon's armor, body armor, which is like $1,200, $2,400, and send it to their child who was on the front line, their son, or you know what I mean?
Right.
And the military wouldn't let them.
Yeah. I mean, it's more important to them to have plenty of people they can experiment on and do their Frankenstein experiments on. And I'm sorry, this is the truth, you guys. Okay, this is the truth.
Yeah.
I did a video on the first amputee pop artist, and it was completely satanic. And they showed her, and then they showed the 5-star pentagram, and it was disgusting.
Wow.
So in Nicholson's work, see, we all have gifts, and Nicholson's gift is the transhumanism. He's got a pulse on that and understands that at a higher level of learning than I could ever understand. And so we all work kind of as a team. My ability is showing people that the mainstream is all occult and that nothing is really safe anymore in the mainstream. And you best, try to figure out what it means, at least, if you're going to watch it.
Right.
Otherwise, you become a victim of the black magic and the sorcery.
It's interesting that the Twin Towers went down, of course, But Hoover Dam, I'm not sure if you put that video together, where Hoover Dam has those two twin towers, those two intake valves.
Right.
And, Hoover Dam in all these movies is shown crumbling or bursting.
Right.
And a lot of people are speculating that is going to be one of the next big targets, Hoover Dam.
Hoover Dam is actually aligned to Hawaii, Kenya. I did a video and I actually showed Obama standing in the perfect alignment that points back to Hawaii, Kenya. There's actually a Hawaii, Kenya girls' dormitory in Africa. Now, the interesting thing is the Lion King was based off of this very area called Hell's Gate National Park in Hawaii, Kenya. And that movie released, or the concept for it began development in 1988. The film's 88 minutes long. And what else was it? I think it was released on Nelson Mandela's birthday or something like that. These synchronicities just don't go away, You
mean you're saying that the Disney movie The Lion King was about Barack Hussein Obama?
I Can't Wait to Be King. Absolutely, it was about him.
Wow.
He is the black melanin leopard from the book of Revelation. We're at 42 years since Roe versus Wade. Revelation 13 talks about the 42 months of the attack on God's temple. And this goes back to some of Nicholson's work about God's temple, which is the human body, which is nature, which is anything God created. So the first attack came in 1973, Roe versus Wade. Abortion was legalized. 42 years later, remember, 42 months is mentioned in the book of Revelation. 42 years later, we have gay marriage.
So you're saying that the 42 months is really 42 years?
Absolutely. And
okay, so then where are we at? Okay, by that logic, I'm not going to say yes or no. I'm not going to, then we're halfway through? Is that what you're saying?
We're all the way through. This is it. I mean, this is the final attack on God's temple. Now, it could be any day, but it says in there that...
No, but it's 42 months and then another 42 months, isn't it? It's 7 years.
No, it says 42 months. That's all it says in Revelation 13.
Okay.
That's it. And we're here.
And then what happens? Refresh my memory. It's been a long time since I read Revelation.
Now, this is where it's open to debate about what the scripture actually means. And things become clear as they kind of happen, which is kind of the hard part. But I can tell you that Dallas was the basically ground zero for the approval of Roe versus Wade. There were two attorneys that fought for it. One was Coffey, and the other was Wasserman or something like that. So I began looking at the 88th episode of pretty much all these different TV series over the last 3 or 4 decades, and I kept seeing the coffee reference come up. And I'd watch 10 episodes before the 88th and 10 after. There was no coffee, but for some reason in that 88th episode there was coffee. Now I know what it means. It represents one of the attorneys who fought for Roe versus Wade. Now I don't know what significance that person had. I don't know if they were in the occult. I don't know, but they have people strategically placed throughout society who basically push their agenda forward. These are police officers. These are coroners. These are people in there. Most of them are Masons. Okay, they're
like Cyril White and Noguchi.
I don't know who that is, but okay. I mean they're everywhere, and so basically,
these are two coroners. They're their go-to coroners when a celebrity dies or someone famous dies, or they're the, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And this probably sounds bizarre to people listening to this, but it is the truth, and I've proven it on my channel with all of the date synchronicities. I mean, how can you have 800 films that released on dates that related to something that was going to happen in the future, and then the subject matter also matches that? 9/11, Pearl Harbor. I mean, we went back to films all the way from the 1920s, and we were finding stuff.
Right.
So.
And it just goes to show you that voting doesn't mean anything.
Means absolutely nothing. They already have. There's some big book somewhere. It's probably got Lucifer's name on the front of it, and it has all the plans all the way for the next 100, 200 years of exactly what he's going to do. And okay, so let me add to the Revelation 13 thing just to clarify. Okay, beast came out of the sea with 7 heads and 10 horns and 10 crowns. There have been 7 presidents and 10 terms since 1973. That's the 7 heads and 10 horns. Okay. The beast coming out of the sea is eastern Russia. There's actually a underwater in a chain of islands that comes up out of 10 lakes, 10 coastal lakes. So there's your 10 crowns. And the island chain ends in Hawaii. So if you look on Google Earth and you look at Hawaii and you track back that island chain, some of it's underwater, but you can see clearly it comes out of 10 lakes that look like horns. I mean, this is unbelievable, this stuff. And you can see the actual, the layout of the ocean looks like a splash coming out. So that's the beast out of the sea. And it's just pretty much as plain as day in my eyes, you know.
Right. Well, let me check the chat here. I don't know. You know, I'm on the fence on all that stuff because, I mean, so you're saying basically, is Obama the Antichrist then?
I wouldn't go as far as to say that, but there are iterations of Antichrist. Right. Like some people could call Charles Manson the Antichrist, you know, but he wasn't the Antichrist.
Yeah, I tend to think there's more than one, you know, that they come in, like Napoleon was an Antichrist and, you know, Hitler and, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe Saddam Hussein was one. I don't know, you know.
Right.
Stalin, but yeah.
Yeah, Hitler was an interesting character. We did some synchronicities on him too. Did you know that Germany, like the Chancellor Building, is a giant H? It's literally a giant H. You look at Google Earth, Chancellor Building, Germany, and it's giant H. Okay, so in a country where they tell you that you can't say the word 88 or use HH anymore, why is the Chancellor Building shaped like a giant H?
Right, yeah. Oh, we got people that, okay, which targets for maybe the next 9/11 or the next event by ISIS or whoever they're going to blame it on, okay? The next inside job. Hoover Dam, Golden Gate Bridge, Sears Tower.
Add Minnesota to that list too. The Twin Cities or whatever.
Oh, okay, the Twin Cities, right?
Right, and Dallas, Texas. I was saying for an entire year before this attack has been happening on Dallas that everybody should watch out for Dallas, Texas. Well, since then, we've had flooding. We've had what else did we have over there? We had Ebola. That was ground zero for Ebola. It hasn't stopped.
Well, I think that whole Ebola thing was a fake.
Right.
A psyop. But basically, I know what you mean. In other words, they targeted Dallas, you know, for a psyop.
Yeah,
right?
The psyop was meant to create division between people that take vaccines and people that don't, and it was meant to cause fear in the people that do, that just go along with the crowd and make them hate people like us who don't want to take the vaccine. And then it was supposed to make us be under pressure, and so that people could justify, if they needed to, putting us in FEMA camps if we didn't take the vaccine. That's where all this is headed. That's why they did the Ebola scare. I did a video showing the Georgia Guidestones. There's actually a keyhole that goes to the center of the Georgia Guidestones. And when you line that up, it points to Guinea, West Africa, where the outbreak happened. Now, the cube was placed, there was a cube placed in the Georgia Guidestones on August 16th, 2014.
Jam, yeah.
And 40 days later, and people were giving me a hard time about Jesus being 40, but 40 days later was 9/30, which was the very day that the first case of Ebola was pronounced on American soil in Dallas, Texas. Okay? Now, how is that? Is that a coincidence? And the cube was placed next to the statement about world depopulation? And the Guidestones point to Guinea, West Africa? And it just so happened the cube was removed the very day that they announced that the first case of Ebola on American soil?
Well, you know, there's a video that came out in, I think, the late 80s or 90s. It's called Jams, or By the Jams, and
KLF it was 1980, the very day. Oh, you're talking about, okay, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah. In that video is Tammy Wynette. Everyone should look up this video where she sings, they're ancient and they're justified, and they want to roam the land. And then they have these two figures with horns with these purple cloaks.
Right. Oh, yeah.
You know, and it's like, well, they're ancient and they're justified and they want to roam the land. What are they talking about? They're like talking about bringing back these gods, or that these ancient ones want to come back, you know?
And all this is happening through CERN. This is what CERN's about. It's all about trying to either break through the firmament or release the beast. That's why they had, the film about anarchy. What was it? Where you get 24 hours of anarchy.
The Purge, yeah.
Purge.
Yeah.
And it was all about release the beast, right? I did some synchronicities on that film as well.
They even had a comedy called The End Times with Seth Rogen, of course. And did you see that monstrosity?
No, I didn't see that. No,
it's called The End Times, and it's like where all hell breaks loose on Earth, and it's like demons are running amok. Literal demons are running around these,
Yeah, and there will come a time where that happens. You're protected once you're immune to the, of course you got to call it to Jesus, but he will protect you. But you got to know what's going on, with stuff. I'll give you another synchronicity. We talked about this the other day when we spoke about the jam, okay? Because I found the word being used in all these movies, okay? That was kind of hip, I guess, in the 80s.
Space jams, yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of hip to use that word. But where they placed the word and what films it showed up in and how that related to 9/11 was just unbelievable. I mean, it was crazy. Okay, so the group called The Jam actually released a single called Going Underground, and it went #1 on the very day that the Georgia Guidestones Cube, or the Georgia Guidestones were erected on March 22nd, which is 3/22, 1980. And that very day, the Jam Going Underground went #1, okay? So then 34 years later, a cube is placed in the Guidestones with the word jam on it. And so you can't tell me that that's a coincidence. It's just not. Some guy came forward and said, I put the cube there and because I got married to my girlfriend. This guy was ex-military, special forces. He said he was disabled, yet he ran his own, he had a business doing personal trainer business. Like, how are you disabled but you have a personal trainer business? And he claimed that he put the cube in there, and he didn't. He just
yeah, it's impossible.
He's some disinfo agent is what he is.
Well, did you see the guy who took it out was he was wearing a red shirt, khaki pants, and it's all filmed. There's people around there,
Yeah, I saw that.
Total psyop. He pulls it out and then he throws it to the ground and it breaks. And then somebody asks him, "Hey, can I buy that?" And he goes, "Who wants a chip?" He goes, "Who wants a chip?" Like microchip?
Right.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
Yeah, who wants a chip? Microchip. And she goes, "Oh, I want one." And then she looks around and she films the numbers. What was it? What were the numbers like? It said jam on one.
8, 16, 2014, and then MM were the last on the last side.
Master Mason, right? MM could be Master Mason.
Yeah, and it also represents 1313, which is the sacred number.
Right.
13 and 13 is 26. We talked about the February 26th World Trade Center bombing.
So do you think that cube was put there, and we were shown the cube that was a signal that they were going to start the culling to bring the world population down to 500 million?
Yeah, but they're not going to get there because God says if he had not cut those days short, there would be no flesh left.
Right.
So he's going to intervene, but yeah, it's coming. So, okay, you got to understand, Lucifer wants to be like the Most High, which means he has to tell his prophets his plans before he does them. Okay, that's what God does in Amos 3:7. He tells his prophets what he'll do. So Satan wants to be just like him. So his prophets are the actors. Okay, he plays out what he's going to do through Hollywood. That's why Hollywood is so evil. People have to start to understand this. Yeah, it's entertaining and fun, but you got to understand what's going on.
Okay, now let me ask you something. Okay. A lot of people think that Sandy Hook was the big awakening because what Sandy Hook did was we caught them that they were psyoping, that they were faking and staging things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
So in other words, you could say that Sandy Hook was almost like a Rosetta Stone that, hey, this is fake, right?
Yeah.
We saw the parents laughing, smirking, like within the next day.
Right.
And people caught that, hey, Victoria's memorial page was created December 10th.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And Wyatt too.
And the United Way, a bunch of charities were time-stamped in November.
Right.
Right? Set up in November.
Yeah.
And all this foreknowledge.
And
so
then there was a dead girl's picture, and the mom knew it because the picture of the girl... No, the girl was alive, I'm sorry.
Yeah, there was just a lot of blunders. Let's put it that way, okay? Just a lot of blunders that people started coming to the conclusion that nobody died, this was all staged. And then they did Boston bombing, and people said, hey, that's fake too. But then what happened was people started looking back, like at Aurora, and going back now to, like Oklahoma City bombing and you name it, the moon landings, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And we're starting to the truther movement or people like us are starting to say they're faking all this stuff, right? And 9/11 was an inside job. So now you have a bunch of people like us who are seeing the stuff in movies and TVs and we're calling it out. So isn't that their principle that before they do something, they have to tell us, but in such a way like hide it?
Right. And if
we're decoding it, like if we now know, hey, they're going to do this to the Hoover Dam, doesn't that nullify it?
It kind of does. Okay. This is all a war of will and spirituality. God loves us, but also we have to search for Him. Here's the thing, man. We're so far removed from understanding that God is like right here, like He's like right next to you, that it seems to us as though God's hiding Himself from us, and it's too much work to know God. But really, it wasn't always like that. We've separated ourselves from Him through what Lucifer's done in society, and so therefore we can find Him, and that's what I do on my channel. I teach people how to find Him. That's what's so amazing about what's happening. It's like a miracle happening in real time. People they're just astounded. They're like, Casey, I gave you this information. I had no idea all this stuff was. I go, do you see how this works? Something told you to tell me that. Because, you're not going to find this stuff everywhere, but it's just like every single time someone sends me something and I open it like a present, we find all these other pieces to the puzzle. And that's a miracle, man. We gotta be honest about this. It's a miracle happening.
Right.
And here's the other thing. I am trolled so heavily, no matter how profound the information I share. I am trolled heavily. What does that mean? It means that you're doing something right. Right?
Well, hey, do you want to talk about the story about the woman who contacted you and then her son, something happens to her son? You want to talk about that?
Yeah,
you don't have to mention names. Well, it's in the media. It happened, right?
Yeah, it happened. It's in the media. I'm
on record. I think it was a psyop. I don't think it had another staged event. But go ahead.
Yeah. Those things happen. Synchronicity is a strange thing because what happens is you can actually get such strong synchronicities real time that it can actually kind of freak you out sometimes because it gets close to home. And that's all I'll say about that.
Okay, you don't want to...
Because I'm unsure about what's going on, so I don't want to implicate that person or,
Okay.
We'll skip the next.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Sorry.
I don't, Okay, you want to talk about Black Child?
Sure, yeah. The guy seems like he's got an inside lane on what's going on in Hollywood. But I'll tell you this, I was approached, I want to say about a year and a half ago. And I've told my subscribers this story, but I'll kind of repeat it here.
But let me just say, I like Black Child. I like the work that he does. Black Child, he's on YouTube. He puts unbelievable videos together. They're 15, 20 minutes, but they're really strong stuff, okay?
Right.
But go ahead.
Yeah, he definitely, I believe that he was actually used to work in Hollywood, I think is what he actually has shared with us or someone said. And then correct me if I'm wrong, but
he's a cook, isn't he the one that says he's a cook by trade or used to be a?
Oh yeah, I hadn't discovered that yet. But yeah, you got to be careful working anywhere in Hollywood because they're going to give you the illusion that possibly, and I'm not saying this in reference to Black Child, from what I see on the outside, he seems to be uncovering some very relevant stuff that needs to be uncovered, right?
I think so, yeah.
I think he does some backmasking on some of this stuff, and he goes straight to the top. He hits the popular artists like Jay-Z and
Beyonce, yeah, and Charlie Sheen, yeah.
So it's very similar to, I do backmasking occasionally, but he does it all the time, and he puts out really good videos. And I don't think he's working in Hollywood right now. I think he's he used to work in Hollywood. But on a different topic, to address Hollywood and how it works, okay? Somehow these people know who the players are going to be before we become players. And I'll tell you why. Way back when my channel was itty bitty and I had like maybe 5,000 subscribers, I was approached by an individual, and I'm not going to say his name here because, again, things can get cloudy in this realm, okay? And you don't really know who the wheat and the tares are until they grow up together, just like the Bible says, right? You only know people by their fruit, okay? But anyway, I'm just going to tell you the story anyway, okay, and let the viewers decide. Guy came forward. He said, you have a lot of talent. You have a magic voice. We want to take Enterthe5t4rz to 1 billion people. He goes, no need to continue replying to comments. We got people that can do that for you. You put in your profile, and then the comments, they'll reply with comments that sound like what you would say. Started inviting me to Hollywood parties, and I was considering it because what he told me was, I'm one of the good guys. And he talked about Jesus, talked about Christ. He said there's only a few of us in Hollywood that are good, but we need people like you because this is just a giant stage, and God is kind of like allowing everything to play out. There's the good side and the bad side. It's like real life Star Wars, the dark side and the light side. Those of us in Hollywood that are good are allowed to survive and live because we provide the counterbalance. And I'm listening to all this, right? And he's going on and on and on. And this guy was persistent. It's not like he called me one time. We developed a friendship, and he kept working on me for like probably 6 months. And like I said, at the time I only had 5,000 subscribers, so I'm kind of wondering where all this is coming from. It's almost like there's some big book up there, and like, I don't know if God and Lucifer are having a conversation about who the end times players are going to be. Kind of like the Job story, But I believe that that's kind of what happened. And what this individual told me was that Lucifer literally sits in Hollywood. He has like a building. And he was taken to some of the higher ups that were very close to him. He said he never saw him. But basically they started, torturing him. They wanted him to sign in blood. I guess people sign in blood in Hollywood. And Black Child actually goes over a lot of this about people that they have to sign in blood, and they have to, there's sacrifices. Like sometimes they have to sacrifice their parent or their kid, or what was the guy's name? John Travolta.
Wait, you're saying this guy? He was tortured? The guy's talking to you?
He almost lost his life, and he said there was some kind of divine intervention from God, and that allowed him to continue his work, and he was scared to death. Look, I don't know if all these stories are true. This is just what the guy told me, okay? He was trying to prove to me that he was on the good side, okay? I put up a couple videos asking my subscribers what I should do, okay?
Hey, Casey, we got to take a 4-minute break, okay?
Right on.
We're just going to take a quick break, okay? 4 minutes. You are listening to WCJV Digital Broadcasting, Youngstown, New York, CJ Mars Radio. I'm Mike Ray, your host. This is Parley. We'll be right back with our very special guest, Casey Brown. Don't you go away. We'll be right back.
You are listening to WCJV Digital Broadcasting, Youngstown, New York.
Thank you for listening
to the CJ Mars Radio Network. WCJV Digital Broadcasting, Youngstown, New York. We're bringing you the best of paranormal radio 24/7. Featuring Half Past Dead Paranormal Radio on Monday nights, 7 Central, 8 Eastern. Paranormalities and Ponderings on Tuesday night, 8 Central, 9 Eastern. Paranormal Experience, 7 Central, 8 Eastern. Parley with Michael Gray, Thursday night, 7 Central, 8 Eastern. Saturday, Two-Faced News, 8 Central, 9 Eastern. And Sunday, Blackthorn Path at 7 Central, 8 Eastern. Looking for drama and nonsense? Look somewhere else. If you're looking for the best in paranormal news, tech tips, advice, and entertainment, stay tuned. That's all we do. Here on the CJ Mars Radio Network. Thanks for listening.
Okay. Hi, we're back. You're listening to WCJV Digital Broadcasting, Youngstown, New York, CJ Mars Radio. This is Mike Gray. I'm your host. This is Parley. And we are back with our very special guest, Casey Brown. Casey, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Great. And I just want to give out the number to call. And that number to call is 716-745-4266. That's 716-745-4266. We're taking any callers if you want to call in, but and I will be checking the chat for any questions. So let's get back to we were talking about the Black Child and this Hollywood producer or this person in Hollywood that tried to entice you to join his side, which wasn't in his mind not necessarily the dark side, but what he called the good guys.
Yeah, and some of the...
And you're saying that he said he met Satan? Is that what he said?
Met some people very close to him, and that he had knowledge that Lucifer actually had a seat in Hollywood, and that people actually consulted with him personally. because he runs Hollywood. Okay, let's be honest. And who could arrange all of these synchronicities in the format that they are, and cast all of the actors and directors and the timestamps, and literally trillions of dollars spent over the last since movie making began in hiding and embedding all of this secret knowledge and occult knowledge. That takes manpower. It takes a mind that is past what a human. For some reason, I've been given the gift to see this stuff, because it's part of the Great Awakening, part of revealing all of this, because people need to see this to see the nature of the world we live in, basically.
Well, and the Black Child has this video called The High Priest, where he says that, or this lady that's talking says that Satan has an office in New York City in the Goldman Sachs building.
Oh. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. Which, if you ever saw that movie with Al Pacino, what was that movie?
I know which one you're talking about. Keanu Reeves, yeah.
Yeah, where he's the head of a law firm.
Yeah.
And he says, the law, how the law intertwines and everything,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, it's unbelievable. Basically, they spent all this money, putting all this into the media. And it's all a giant, ritual is what it is. And then they take these people out, these actors, they sacrifice them whenever they need to. I believe some of them might even go away to some secret island somewhere. The southern hemisphere is largely unexplored. There's beautiful weather down there. We're not even allowed on Antarctica. The loophole that they provide, the reason they provide, is that they say that it's protected and that no gasoline can come within 1,000 miles of Antarctica because it might spill, right? That's what they say, but what that does is it prevents travel, because you can't travel without gasoline, right? So there's a reason why the southern hemisphere is unexplored. There's a reason why they don't track the planes in the southern hemisphere across the ocean. GPSs are turned off. You'll never see a plane flying over the ocean in Antarctica. Why?
Right. I don't know. Why?
And, some of the guys that are doing the flat Earth videos, they talk about this, and they're the ones that actually discovered this. I didn't make that discovery, but yeah, they turn off the transponders and the GPS. So basically, these planes are unaccounted for over thousands of miles. Now they don't tell you that, but that's the case.
What's funny is, I had a weird dream when I was in a coma for like 8 weeks, right?
Wow.
And in my coma, I had this weird dream that there was more. I swear to God, I'm going to make this up. And this is before I knew anything about this flat Earth stuff, because this happened in 2011. I had this weird dream that I was looking at a map in my dream, and there was more land. There was like land where there wasn't supposed to be land. And I was saying to myself, what is this,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they might all go to some secret island, and maybe that's the lure. Maybe that's why they sell out. So we ask ourselves, why do they sell out? Why would they do that? How could you be responsible for the death of people, And maybe they're told that Lucifer probably tells them, I'm going to come up with this immortal body made out of steel, right? And all you got to do is hang out on this island until the Armageddon's over, and then you get 1,000 years with me, and we'll hang out, and you'll be immortal, right? And you can do whatever you want. Do what thou wilt. You can have all the women you want, all the drugs, all the alcohol, but you can live forever. There's some kind of deal that they sign, and this is what the guy in Hollywood was telling me. He said they sign actually in real blood on these contracts. And the other thing, but then the uneasy feeling I began to get with this guy was, one, he identified me so early on in the process, and he was so enamored with me. And this guy was, he had no reason to be. I mean, he had red carpet interviews. What he reminded me was the videos that I saw on Around Saturn's Eyes channel, where you see him interviewing people on the red carpet. That's exactly what this guy did. Same person, almost. And, and then that was supposed to impress me, right? I was supposed to get impressed. And then I was supposed to meet like some of these top Hollywood producers at the party. He's like, hey, we got a party going on. I said, listen, man. He goes, we got to make you famous. I go, I don't want to be famous. That's not why I'm here, to be famous. I'm here to spread the truth. In fact, fame, I'm starting to feel a little bit like someone saying...
were they trying to induct you into the Boulay Society or the Black Freemasons? What's that? It's called the Freddie Prince. Is it called the Frederick Prince Lodge or something?
I have no idea because he didn't mention any secret societies. I think I was kind of in the early stages of him trying to lure me in, and maybe all that would have been later. But I presented this to my subscribers because I've always been transparent on my channel. I did 2 videos. I said, this is the guy. What should I do? Give your thumbs up or thumbs down. And everyone thumbs down. They're like, don't do it, don't do it. This is a trick. And I had to go to God with it, and I was like, no. And I told them no. I said, there's no way this is going to work. First of all, I don't think it's possible for there to be any good in Hollywood. Everything you guys do is evil.
Yeah. I mean, you look at Boner, or Bonner, or the Speaker of the House, how he's just completely sold out, and he's Obama's golfing buddy, and, Obama, he gets a ride on Air Force One, and he's all giddy, and, I mean, just a complete sellout, and, probably an alcoholic, Yeah. And I mean, it's unreal.
Just so
I don't know how these people live with themselves. I really don't. You look at like Pelosi. I mean, all of them. It's not just it's all of them really. Yeah.
It's all driven by ego and money. Listen, let's be honest, man. Okay, there's 2 different kinds of people in this world. Those of us with an ego, who if someone gets in our face, we're going to fight back. We're going to call them out. We're going to punch them. We're going to sue them. Then there's the other kind of people, and those are the meek people, who just kind of avoid trouble, are not contradictory. They're slow to anger. They have the fruitages of the Spirit. Those are the people that Jesus says are going to inherit the earth. And a lot of people don't want to hear that because we're programmed to be competitive from the time we're young. Board games, sports, job, college, everything is a contest. And what happens is we get programmed to be in a contest. Then we're in a contest in our marriage. We're in a contest against other couples. We're in a contest to see who has the best car, who has the best job, who's making the most money, who has the prettiest wife. And it doesn't stop, man.
Yeah.
That's the brainwashing. That's what we have to deprogram ourselves. And it's okay to be meek and kind and loving.
I wish we'd all live like hobbits.
Yeah.
Yeah. Living in like earth homes, and kind of, just chilling out. Yeah. Raising crops and just being carefree, Yeah. Get it out of the rat race, really.
Yeah, we're literally in hamster wheels, man. And it's designed that way to keep your mind off of the things of the spiritual and off of heaven. Because you're...
Okay, get a call here.
Hello?
Hello, could you turn the radio down? Just turn the volume down on the radio.
Got
so
it.
we don't get the feedback. Okay, caller. Yeah, you have a question for our guest?
What's up, Casey?
Hey, how you doing?
Am I falling behind here, buddy? I'm not sure if I'm caught up with what I was hearing there.
Yeah, this is the present.
How far behind are you when it's streaming?
Oh, I'm not sure. Are you still hearing the radio program? I think you're in the present. I think you're right up to speed, man.
Okay, sweet. Hey, Casey, my name's Cliff, man.
Hey, Cliff.
How are you tonight, buddy?
I'm good. Thanks for calling in, man. What do you got?
I just wanted to call and let you know how much I appreciate your work and everyone else that has come together to figure all this crap out. My YouTube name is The Wake Up Time. I have a very extensive past on YouTube, and I rolled with some of the big names back in the day, and tried to speak out against all this garbage that was going on. And I'm sure you remember Billy or End Time Watchman. Do you remember him?
Yeah.
And C.S. Rivers.
Yeah, were you part of the Idaho Picker and all that group too?
Yeah, and Karen, especially Karen. She's a very good friend of mine. Or excuse me, not Karen, but Catherine.
Okay.
And, you know, you went through a similar situation that I did, if I remember correctly. Your wife left you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just got done going through that for the last 2 years. I was, you know, gainfully employed up until recently, you know, busted my butt for the last 20 years. My wife didn't have to work a day. And, you know, because of that, you know, every penny that I earned went towards taking care of my family.
Yeah, like you sacrifice everything. Like you won't even buy yourself a shirt because you want to make sure everybody else around you is fine. That's the beast system, man. They'll consume everything that you produce. Everything. I'm
still wearing 5-year-old gym shoes.
Me too. But guess what?
I'm not saying that I didn't end up with a nice home and stuff like that, but, you know, now that I'm unemployed, you know, I've lost everything, and I can't even make my mortgage now. So it's only a matter of time, you know.
What area do you live in? What's your field? That maybe there's someone listening that could, help you get a job. You know.
I live in St. John, Indiana.
Okay. Anyone in St. John, Indiana? What do you do, or what's your field, or?
And for the last 4 years, I've been working for Dell.
Dell Computers.
Dell Healthcare Services. It's a different division of Dell. It's the Ross Perot division of Dell.
Oh.
Which Ross Perot is a man I have huge respect for. I actually wish he had became president, but I've been in the healthcare industry since 2001, and I got to be honest when I say that I actually don't want to enter back into the workforce because I have a strong conviction about what I'm seeing going on right now.
Absolutely.
And I absolutely refuse to pay any taxes to any of these people ever again, which means death for me. It's all falling apart. I mean, the adversary has literally destroyed my life. Between Lake County, Indiana, and their corrupt government, and trust me when I tell you they're corrupt. The Constitution doesn't apply here. And they may have managed to not only, let my wife, get this fake divorce, with this fake piece of paper that says, "Oh yeah, you're divorced now." Well, when what man can say that you're divorced? What man can do that?
Right.
No one.
Hey, Cliff, do you have a question for Casey here, or?
I'm very intrigued lately about this whole flat Earth thing, and I've taken a look at a lot of people out there that are talking about things and coming out with videos and so on and so forth, and I have to be honest when I say I tend to believe it if you're looking at it from a biblical perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Casey, my biggest question is for you is, I'm a little bit confused about your lens theory.
Yes.
And I'm wondering if you can kind of clear that up for me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Hey, but first I want to encourage you, man, and just let you know that the way you're feeling, the system is designed to make you feel this way, okay? It's designed, okay? It's put in place to get a divorce and have your kids taken away, and the next step is what most men do when all this happens, when they're living like a pauper while their ex-wife gets $2,000 a month in child support and alimony, and you lose your kids. Most guys will put a bullet in their head. But you can...
I'm about right there, Casey.
Well, no, you don't want to do that, Cliff.
Don't do it, because I was sitting in my living room 7 years ago, and that's when the floodgates of truth opened up to me, when I got on my knees and I said to God, show me the truth no matter what, because my life's in chaos and I don't know why. And I want to know why this world sucks. And that...
Well, trust me, Casey, I got Father. You know that. I'm sure you know who I am. So I've got Father. I'm not worried about this physical realm that we live in. I've been through so much in my life. You just finally reach a point to where you say to yourself, I've just had enough.
Yeah,
Right.
just hang
You
in
know,
there.
and
Well,
I'm not going to get into details. You know, the rabbit hole goes deep, even when it comes to my own life. But you know, am I going to pretend like, you know, things are this, you know, great, happy little, you know, skip on down the road, you know, it's, you know, have a happy little life? No, it's not that way, man. You know, and when you get persecuted, you really get persecuted, and persecution is real.
Yeah.
But, you know, with that being said, you know, I don't want to get in the conversations about that. But Casey, I'd like to hear you elaborate a little bit on this lens thing. So if I look at all the images that there is out there of a flat Earth,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the one that probably intrigues me the most is, you know, the one with the circle and the four angels, you know, the four archangels guarding each corner, which does bring it up, you know, the Earth in kind of like a lens type fashion. So how do you actually see it?
How do I see it? I'm inside the eyeball, and I'm standing on the back of the lens of the eye. And so and you're looking up at the inside of the eye. Now, this is amazing. Okay, what most people don't know is that your eye is an analogy of the womb. Think about this. The retina is the placenta. The child is upside down with the crown of their head into the cervix, which is like the iris that opens and closes. You're born into sin. The false visual, the false eyes. The child comes through the halo around their head, because they are the innocents, right? Is the path of the sun. See how all this fits together? But when they're born into sin, into this world, into this reality, so through the cervix, into the world, through the eye, looking out, is the false light. Our eyes deceive us. Christ says, if your eye deceives you, gouge it out. He's talking about the eye of evil. We have two eyes, the eye of good and evil. That is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Eve
I never did take that literally.
Yeah, Eve bit of the apple, her eyes were opened, but they deceived her. Now, look at Apple, look at the Apple computers. What is the symbol for that? It is an apple with a bite taken out of it. Right? And
yep.
So that's your eye. It's the aperture. They took the lens cap off. That's what happened with Eve. She took the lens cap off. Now she could see good and evil. She had the option to do good or evil. Okay, the trees of knowledge and good of evil are the trees of your retina at the back of the eye. They're shaped like trees. Okay? Jesus says, your eye is the lamp of your body. But when he says body, he's talking about the body of Christ. If you look at the Greek, it's the body, not your body. The body. The eye is a lamp of the body. When your eye be single, the whole body becomes full of light. What he's talking about is the stars in heaven. And he's quoting Enoch, because Enoch says that we each have a star in heaven. And based on how righteous we are, our star shines that bright, is what it says in the book of Enoch. So,
you know, that's one of the things that I actually think about when it comes to everything that I've learned, and then I've been studying, you know, the texts for, you know, well over, you know, 2 decades now, and you know, that's you've heard of David Vos, right?
Yes, I have heard of him. Yes.
And you know how he talks about how there's many gods in the Bible? I tend to actually kind of believe him when he says that, because there's such a stark difference, and there's so many things that happen in the Bible that just don't seem right. You know, as far as you know, like the whole father testing. What was it, Abraham?
Yeah, we got to be careful with that, and I kind of know where you might be heading with this. There is a movement afoot to say that Yahweh is not the real God, and that, and I gotta have a problem with that.
Yeah, Yeah, Father's got many names in the Bible: Jehovah, Yahweh, Elohim. You know, it goes on and on. But to kind of get back on point, I don't want to stray off of the subject. Let's get back to the flat Earth here. So, do you see the landmass as completely flat, or kind of like that picture that they have, where there's kind of like a dome of land?
It's a dome
with with the four corners.
It's shaped like a contact lens, and we live on the surface of it. A contact lens face down so that it looks like a little dome. It's like a hill.
It's like kind of a half circle.
Right, like in Back to the Future, it's called Hill Valley, right? That's what they're referring to. They're referring to the Earth, Hill Valley. I'm going to leave you with this point, because this is fascinating. Christ was crucified in a place called Golgotha, which means skull. And in that skull, he was crucified in the central position between two thieves. The two thieves are the eyes. They deceive you. But he turned to one thief. He was in the pineal position. That's where Jesus was. He turned to one thief and he said, "You will be with me in paradise." What he was talking about is the good eye. We have to let go of our desire to be able to do good and evil. We only have to basically go back to the 4-speed bicycle instead of the 10-speed bicycle. The 4-speed bicycle is the bicycle or the tree that only allows us to do good. And maybe have one option to disobey God, which is to eat of a tree. But I don't think God's going to give us that option again, because he says in the Bible that he's going to eradicate sin from the universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we're dealing with here, man. Those who want to do what thou wilt, you get to stay with that tree, but then you get cut off from the umbilical cord of God, and you take your chances with Satan, which we all know what's going to happen with that.
I'm going to have to say, man, I'm on your side as far as this so-called theory. I've spent the last 3.5 years flying across the country nonstop. Chicago to LA, Chicago to Phoenix, Chicago to Bakersfield. And every time I look out that window, when I'm flying through the air, I just can't believe it. I don't believe it's true. I don't believe that the Earth is a sphere. I don't believe it.
Yeah, and you're not going to ever probably be able to get up high enough to disprove it, because once you go into the southern hemisphere, there's no flights down there. It's unbelievable.
Well, it'd be nice if we could actually, get on a ship and go find out for ourselves, But there's a reason why it's so closely guarded and no one's allowed to go, even the Nazis, back in World War II, had their little expeditions and they probably found a lot of things that, back up what we're saying and what we're feeling about all this. And, it comes from a biblical perspective. I've got, the whole 501. I live in a neighborhood, I got pastors as neighbors, and, they claim to be big believers. And, my neighbor Lisa across the street the other day, I looked at her, I said, do you think the earth is round or flat? She said, I think it's round. I said, well, wait a minute, aren't you a believer?
Yeah.
She said, yeah, I'm a believer. I said, you are, huh? I said, then why would you discount what the Bible says about what the earth really is?
Right.
And that's been a huge problem that I've had with people over the years, Casey, because people aren't actually reading the Bible. No. A lot of the religious don't read the Bible. Even my own mother, I was raised Catholic. And my mother's, still going to the Catholic Church to this day.
If they read, they would follow Christ's example, which he never collected a tithe. He really never went into a church. And when he prayed in private 80% of the time.
Never did endorse religion. The religious told the religious they had it wrong. Threw the money changers out of the temple. Told the priests that they had it wrong. And that's where I kind of get that whole, many gods of the Bible thing, that really starts to get me thinking. But, Cliff, Jesus was very much against.
Cliff, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we're going to have to wrap this up. If you want to email the station, we could put you in, a prayer thing.
Hey, Casey. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Casey, my email is cliff@siriuspc.com. Send me a shout. And we'll take this discussion a little bit further. But with that being said, I'll wrap this up quick. Even I asked my own mother,
Cliff,
I said, hey, Mom, have you ever read the Bible before,
Cliff,
whether it be the
done.
Duo Rhymes
Cliff,
or the King James or any translation?
Cliff, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, we're done. You can hang up now.
Well, what happened?
Well, I'm hoping he hung up.
You got more callers in line?
Well, he took over the show. And he's being rude. Yeah, that's fine. The guy's ignoring me. I don't know how many times I have to tell him, wrap it up. You know what I mean? What do you want me to do? Cliff in Indiana, I think there's a reason why you're unemployed, buddy. Good luck. That was fun.
I guess I missed part of it because I got disconnected.
Oh, boy. Well, does anyone else want to call in and upset me? That's fine. If you want to, I don't know, it's just bizarre, Anyway, and maybe I didn't handle that right, but, I just felt like he was disrespecting me.
Well, what happened?
He took over the show.
I dropped off and I had to call back in, so I missed like 3 minutes.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I couldn't, he just, I don't know. He didn't, wasn't listening. Anyway. Thank you, CJ. I will do that. You were listening to WCJ. I'm going to do the call letters now. You are listening to WCJV Digital Broadcasting, Youngstown, New York. CJ Mars Radio. I'm your host, Mike Gray. I'm the host, not Cliff. Screw you, Cliff. This is my show, and we have with us Casey Brown. Casey, do you know that guy? Is he a friend of yours?
No, I don't. He sounded like he was in a rough spot in his life. I know.
Yeah, he was in a rough spot, and he put me in a rough spot, so we're even. I've been in rough spots, but there's no reason to be rude and be disrespectful.
I guess I missed that part because I
dropped
off, so I don't know the whole story. I guess,
but
yeah, we can move on from that, I guess.
Yeah. We'll take calls, and if Cliff wants to call back and yell at me, we can get into it. I don't care. But it's 9:33, so let's keep going. Boy, this is crazy. I wonder what people are going to say on YouTube about this, but anyway, so where were we?
We were talking about the layout of the eye and the model of the eye and stuff.
Right.
Oh, 501c3, he raised a good point because, okay, so I've been talking about this for probably about a year now, about 501c3, and what it is for the people that don't know, it's a status that most churches have. It's a tax-exempt status. Now, without this tax-exempt status, they would not be able to afford to keep their doors open. Okay.
Well, you know what? Hold on. Hold the call. Let me say something about these 501c3s. Maybe the Catholic Church needs to pay taxes. And people like Joel Osteen and Kenneth Copeland, and these mega churches like, Benny Hinn and all them.
Yeah, they wouldn't be able to keep their doors open if they had to pay taxes. That's the whole thing.
So what? They're not doing any good.
They're not.
Do you see any soup kitchens? Do you see any, the Salvation Army? At least they do something. They help the poor, all people like, the Red Cross and all these mega churches and the Catholic Church, they're not helping anybody. They're not doing outreach and soup kitchens and, you know what I mean? They're just pocketing all the money. And maybe they deserve to lose that 501c3. Maybe,
Yeah.
All right, let's take a call. Maybe, because I lost my cool there and I apologize. Good. All right.
So basically, you're right. There needs to be a weeding out. My point to all this is it gets much deeper. It's a spiritual thing, okay? Okay, this is what the law states. I'm going to be very clear about this. If you cannot speak out against anything that the United States government deems as legal, okay? That means war. That means abortion. Why do you think your pastors never talk about abortion? Never get involved in politics, never get involved in war? It's because they're bound. Well, now we added another one in the mix. Gay marriage is now legal. So guess what? Your pastor cannot talk negatively about it, nor can he discriminate and not marry a person that wants to get married. So where do you think these gay people are going to go?
Right.
They're going to go straight to the church they hate the most, say, you will marry me or you will lose your tax-exempt status, because it's discrimination.
Also, how many preachers and pastors are getting checked from FEMA or the feds, and they've been totally co-opted, and they're told, you're going to tell your parishioners, it's, like the Pope. Didn't you hear what the Pope said? If you believe in the Second Amendment or if you own a gun, you're not a Christian. Right. Now, he's a Jesuit, okay? He's Mr. New World Order. So, he can go to hell.
Mm-hmm. And here's the truth of the matter, man. These people try to balance. They live their whole life on the two pillars. We saw the whole thing go down with Round Saturn's Eye. The two pillars. If I do enough good, then I can do evil on the other side. That's how they believe. So you see these Satanists and occultists in Hollywood, doing outreach work and going to Africa and adopting kids, and it all looks great. But then on the other side, they're involved in this occult sexuality, sensuality, homosexuality. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, we have a question in the chat, okay? Found the edge, what do you mean? And that's by Woogie Foof. And Woogie Foof is asking, what do you mean found the edge? The edge is, I guess, Antarctica, the 2-mile wall that...
That was me.
Who is this?
Yeah, this is Paul. I'm listening to the whole thing. I just put that up, like, found the edge. I kind of I mess around with words, but anyway, am I online with Casey now?
Wait, who is this?
This is Paul.
Oh, Paul.
Pablo for you too.
Okay, go ahead.
Hey, Paul, how are you?
Hey, Casey. I'm really glad you explained that, and I was having a hard time trying to figure out the moon phases, and now I'm kind of getting it with the dance of the sun and moon. That's making a lot of sense, because sometimes you see the moon come over in the morning first, and then the sun.
Right.
I think I got that right. Right?
Yeah. Yes.
Pretty sure. And so I'm just still trying to grasp this lens thing.
Okay.
And the flat Earth and lens at the same time. It's just, I guess the Earth, now the Bible says the Earth is separate from the seas, right? So where there's land, that's Earth, basically.
Yeah.
That's hard to explain, but if there's water, then whatever land that we can live on, that's Earth.
Right. Firmament. Call it the firmament.
Yeah. Even though there's land underneath the water, it's still really not considered Earth because we're not living on it. So we can't live on it or something like that. Anyway, I don't want to go there, but so anyway, I'm just trying to get this lens thing down. That's the hard part I'm having.
Yeah. I can extrapolate a little bit more because I hadn't really covered all the points, so maybe this will help clarify things for you. Like I was saying earlier. Go ahead. Sorry. What?
I'm going to take some more time. I'll get with you online, and then I'll call you first, and then we'll do it that way. That way, other people can come in here and
Okay.
Questions. So I'll do it that way. I just wanted to say hi. I really like the information you put out. It's really good. So
thanks, man.
And we need to know that Christ is coming soon, and this is like a heads up for everybody. I think so.
Yeah,
much love
to you, brother. Much love.
Yeah. All right, God bless.
All right. And here's the miracle, and I appreciate that caller. The miracle is that the whole analogy of Christ's life was the anatomy of the eye. Okay? He was describing that. And that was the amazing thing. How did he know 2,000 years ago how the eye worked? That there was only one way to the Father, where vision is processed at the back of the brain, and that is through Christ, who was crucified in the pineal position between the two eyes in the skull of Golgotha. How did he know that there was a pineal gland between the back of the brain and the eye? How did he know about the trees? How did King David know about the rod and the staff, which is the cane and the staff that we see in the night sky at the equator, the stars moving up vertically in the center and spinning off on the sides, which looks exactly like the staff and the rod. How did David know that in Psalm 23? The synchronicities in the Bible are amazing. The book of Revelation, if you take the number of chapters times the number of verses, you get 8,888. How did that happen? And what does it mean? What they tell us in church is not even close to all the information that we're going to need in the end times. They're Babylon the Great, man. Their hands are tied. They can't say anything they're not supposed to because they get a paycheck from the government. And it doesn't mean everyone in church is bad, and it doesn't even mean that all the pastors are bad, but pastors take orders from the higher-ups. They're given the subject matter that they can preach on. And if they go outside of that, they lose their jobs.
Well, let me say this. I think that the small churches, less than 1,000 or a couple of thousand, they don't have to pay taxes. But these mega churches like Benny Hinn and Joel Osteen, Kenneth Copeland, these guys are close to being billionaires, okay? Yeah. And they really should be investigated, and they should pay taxes or personally pay taxes, because what they're doing is they're just corrupt,
Yeah, and there's going to come a time where the deception is so big that it is going to mean life and death. So it is, if you do...
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but did I tell you this? I was clicking the channels, and TD Jakes was on. Mm-hmm. He's this big black pastor, right? Big heavyset guy. And he's known as the next Billy Graham. I was watching him, and I just, clicked through the channels, and I stopped for a second to watch him. As he was talking, his eyes glowed like a fiery red orange. Twice. They lit up. Wow. Kind of like how you see those magicians, when they do those tricks, their eyes, turn different colors.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, his eyes did that. I was like, holy cow.
There's no doubt about it. There's going to be some supernatural manifestations going on in the last days. I mean, it's talked about in the Bible.
Yeah.
But any more? No more callers. No more messages coming through.
Let's see here. No, not yet. You have to listen to Last Day's Prophet of God, Brother Starr, and the Overcomer Ministry. There's a lot of people in the chat, and I'm assuming all these people are your friends. Because I only have 3 people, me including, and CJ and Dita are the only ones in here, and everyone else I'm sure is these are all your friends, like Snuggle Lips, and I guess these are I don't know if you know them, but yeah, these are all friends of yours. If anyone wants to call in, 716-745-4266. Here's a question about the pineal gland in the eye. Mm-hmm. If the pineal gland is applicable, is this if this, please cover it.
Okay, absolutely. Okay, what people don't understand is that the pineal gland actually has rods and cones in it. There are photoreceptor cells within your pineal gland. There's also like a vitreous humor fluid, just like the inside of the eye. So it is perceiving something, okay? The question is what? Now, as far as I can tell at this point, the pineal gland is simply an antenna, okay? It's nothing that you can do on your own. It is powered by Christ. When you have Christ's likeness in your life, fruitages of the Spirit, kindness, love, peace, slow to anger, You believe in him, believe that he rose again in 3 days, and was crucified. When all that comes into play, then your antenna goes up, and you have the Christ likeness, and you're saved. But that is what I believe the extent of the pineal is. It is when Christ was crucified on that cross. That was his plea to everyone, is that we kind of duplicate the way he lived and try to be like him. Now, none of us are perfect, but we can try, right? And we can definitely believe in him for the sacrifice that he made. So that's what I tell people about the pineal. The safe rule about anything is if Christ isn't in the middle of it, then it's probably bad. It's probably the counterfeit version. And the enemy does a really good job at creating counterfeits of basically everything that's holy. I'll give you a prime example. This is going to blow people away. When you look at the night sky, we've been talking about this, you see owl eyes in the night sky. Now, did Satan create the sky? Of course not. So is the owl bad? No. But guess what? There's a cult called Bohemian Grove. There's a cult called Molech, and they sacrifice children in fires. That's not God.
Right, yeah.
That's not the person who created the owl eyes in the sky. But guess what? It's a counterfeit. So that he can take what is holy and good and flip it around. Now, someone was asking me about the sine wave today in sin. Okay? We're going to go over that. Christ says, don't build your house on sinking sand. What he was talking about is the hourglass of time. Now, if you look at an hourglass and you flip it on its side, it forms the owl eyes. That's God's time, which is infinite. It spins around and around and around. But when you cut those owl eyes apart, you get a sine wave, which looks like a bell curve, okay? Now, it's a three-dimensional bell curve, but it has a beginning point and it has an end point. It doesn't go on forever anymore. And that's the best way I can describe the reality, the dimension that we were stuck in once Eve went into the different tree or reality. When she went into the alternate reality of good and evil, it snipped the Coriolis, it snipped the toroid. And so now everlasting life was not possible. Now we're in the sine wave, the bell curve. And that's why the freedom bell is our symbol of freedom, right?
Okay, hold on, folks. We lost KC. If there's any questions in the chat, we'll be taking questions.
Hey, sorry guys, lost you.
Oh no, that's okay. That's okay. Carry on. Yeah, you got disconnected. Sorry, folks.
Yeah, so the bell, the bell in the horror movies, what always happens? The phone rings, right? The bell goes off. There's a reason for that. They just didn't come up with some slick, oh yeah, we're going to put the phone ring and that's going to be freaky. No, it means something. For whom the bell tolls, Metallica. The bell means something. It's the bell curve. It's the sine wave. So.
Okay, we still got 10 minutes. So, let's see. Tell me, what can we cover in 10 minutes?
Yeah.
If there's any questions in the chat, please ask. And what else did we talk about the other night? So whatever happened with that guy Boda? Did I mention his name? The guy that was trying to entice you to, go into Hollywood.
Pretty much lost contact with him, and I just made very clear my boundaries. I'm not going to have other people answering my messages. I'm going to, the minute that happens, then I'm not real anymore.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Man, I answer 300 to 400 emails a day. Okay, what I do now with YouTube has cost me my job. I was fired from my job.
Yeah, yeah.
They found out about my YouTube channel, and I know that's why it was, because I was threatened before it happened, and they actually named my employer. They said, how would, I'm not going to say the name of the employer, how would they like it if they found out about your YouTube channel? I said, I'm one person all the time, so if they can't accept me for who I am, then I don't need to be working for them. And I had a certain amount of faith that maybe they were kind of like me and understood the work that I did and wouldn't care. But in the end, it cost me my job. And I'm okay with that. And I want to encourage the guy that called in first and just let him know, hey, the feeling that you're getting that you don't want to go back into this beast system, hey, that's the calling. That's the Exodus, man. We're still in Egypt. It's time for the Exodus out of the beast system. God's calling his people out. For all of us who have to look back at the money, we're going to turn to salt, just like Lot's wife did. Because God, it's to the point now in this country where it's just like the negotiation that Lot had with God. Hey, please don't destroy Sodom. Are there at least 100 people that are righteous? God said no. 80, no. 50, no. There weren't even like 5 righteous people in an entire city. And this is why we all have to get off the fence about this, about what's going on right now. It's not okay. It's an abomination. There's very few times in the Bible that God uses the word abomination. And I'm not hitting people over the head with the Bible. What I'm saying is the entire definition of marriage was established by God. That's what marriage is. Now, if they want to call it something else, go ahead and call it that. But don't call it the one thing that God called it and then try to redefine it. And
it's funny, Obama is, abomination.
Man, why put the rainbow color on the White House? What is that? It's a slap in the face to all people. Here's the thing. People say, it doesn't affect you. Why do you care? And I'm going to share a very personal story with you guys that I probably shouldn't share, but I'm going to share it with you anyways. Okay? Someone very close to my heart. I'm sorry.
It's all right. If you don't want to listen, if you don't want to say it, don't. If it's going to choke you up, or I know what you're talking about because we told you. You know what I mean?
And here's the thing, man. Okay, the most innocent people on this planet are a product of the environment, whether people want to believe it or not. And what is acceptable when they come into this world is what they believe their options are for this life, and it becomes normal to them. And this is how the enemy is so insidious, because every generation he pushes a little bit more and a little bit more, and all of a sudden, remember when there was no French kissing on TV? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Now what do we have on TV?
Naked and Afraid.
So there you go.
Yeah.
So so that's the problem with this gay marriage ruling that I have. That is the problem. I don't care what people do. And I love people for whoever they are. I don't hate them. I hate the people who are pushing the agenda, the sin that's involved, because they know exactly what they're doing.
But also, it's a lot of people will say, what does bisphenol A have to do with homosexuality or feminizing men? Is because bisphenol A is an estrogen mimicker, and it mimics estrogen. So bisphenol A is in all for the last 20 years. I remember when I was a kid, when you bought a Coke bottle, it was glass. Even the little ones, or only the big bottles were plastic. But then they went the little bottles. Remember the smaller bottles?
Yeah.
Because before it was glass, right? It was like a glass bottle.
Right.
And then it wasn't until like maybe 80 something, 79, 80, that it went to plastic.
Yeah.
And all the soft plastic and all the inks has that bisphenol A.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a chemical attack. But the thing is, they knew in the 50s that it was an estrogen mimicker, so they knew what they were doing.
Oh, yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, all this stuff.
Yeah, the antibiotics in the food that they give the animals, the growth hormones, the fluoride in the water, the bisphenol A, and now the chemtrails since the mid-90s, and God knows what else. It's all an attack, an intentional frontal assault on all of us.
And it's a layered effect, and they have redundancies built in. The only escape is to live like the gentleman was saying that first came on. Grow a garden, live off the grid, drink the rainwater. Even the rainwater's tainted, but you'll cut down on your exposure, okay? But now what they're doing is they're making laws against that, to live off grid. Florida just outlawed tiny houses and living off grid. You can't get land and put a tiny house on it. You have to be plugged into their matrix, into their water and sewage and all that. And they're calling it a health threat. Pretty soon, that's going to expand to all 50 states. You cannot collect rainwater anymore in Utah, certain parts of Utah. You cannot burn wood during the winter to keep yourself warm because they're saying while they're polluting 1,000,000 times what any one person or 100 people would do with their factories, we're not allowed to make a fire to keep warm.
Right.
I mean, how ridiculous is this?
Now you got drones everywhere, and they're going to detect anything.
And this is an attack on God's temple. This is what people aren't understanding. This is our rightful natural habitat. We're natural men and women. We have the right to God's earth. And when the devil steps in between and says, you can't do this and you can't do that, it angers God, and it's an attack on his temple. And he's not going to let this go on forever. He's not.
I think that's the only good thing about if there's a financial collapse, that the government, this empire, is so top heavy that it won't take much to, it all runs on money. So if the money goes away, it'll be a good thing.
Well, what'll happen is they're going to pay their mercenaries, and it'll be just like in the days of the Nazi Germany, man. All the mercenaries and the enforcers are going to have mansions and money, and they're going to live in their own little communities, and then all of us are just going to be left to fend for ourselves. Because there's always going to be a sellout, man. Always.
Well, there's 150 million gun owners, and there's over 350 million guns in this country. And the average gun owner has more than one gun or rifle, So they'll lend them out to their friends, Here you go.
But here's what they're doing. They're already moving legislation to make it cost prohibitive in the way of ammo to own a gun. Because you can't get ammo. They're not letting you make your own ammo anymore. That's illegal. They're treating that as though you're like a bootlegger, alcohol bootlegger, or a drug dealer. It's a felony to start making your own ammo. And that's where all this is headed, man. And if you can't put bullets in your gun, then the guns are worthless.
Right, yeah. Or make you have insurance on the gun to where you can't even afford the insurance, so you can't have the gun.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know, like, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. Up until 9/11, it was part of the IRS. Why would you put alcohol, tobacco, and firearms with a tax collecting agency? Because everything's about taxes. That's how they control everything. It's through taxation.
Well, listen, we're down to the last 2 minutes. Is there anything you want to wrap up here? You got anything? Do you want to plug your? We're talking to Brian Casey. I'm sorry, Casey Brown. Well, my head is just up my butt right now. This 2 hours went quick, huh?
Yeah, it was really.
We're talking to Casey Brown, and his YouTube page is Enter the Stars, and that's not stars. It's Enter the and a 5T4rz.
4RZ. 4RZ.
4RZ. 4RZ. 5T4rz. Sorry. Enter the Stars on YouTube. I highly recommend going and checking out all his videos. I've watched quite a few of them. I still got more to do. They're pretty. The one he did on Back to the Future is really funny and good. There's one on Castaway, The Truman Show, and I watched also today The Gate.
Right.
And The Darkness. What was that movie?
That was something The Darkness. Can't remember.
The John Carpenter film, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it was really creepy when it came out. That was pretty interesting. Where the guy's name is Barack in the movie.
Right, he died on 9/12.
Yeah, amazing. Just really, your videos are really great. So I highly recommend. And do you want to give out your Gmail or email or do you have a website?
Twitter. You can hit me on Twitter under the same Enter the Stars 5T4rz, and also I'm on Facebook if that's the format you guys prefer. So I'm on those two places. So. Okay,
yeah, and you're on Facebook under Enter the Stars?
Yes, Enter the Stars.
Okay, great. All right, well, it's 10 o'clock, and I want to thank Casey, our guest. I'm a little flummoxed. That guy Cliff really threw me for a loop, I have to say. Thanks, Cliff. I appreciate it, buddy. I want to thank Cindy Jean-Pierre. I want to thank everyone in the chat room. I've never seen this many people in the chat, so obviously these are all friends of Casey.
Hey, guys.
And I want to thank our listeners, and This is Parley. I'm Mike Ray, and we'll see you next week, folks. Bye.
You are listening to WCJV Digital Broadcasting, Youngstown, New York.
Thank you for listening to the CJ Mars Radio Network. WCJV Digital Broadcasting, Youngstown, New York. We're bringing you the best of paranormal radio 24/7. Featuring Half Past Dead Paranormal Radio on Monday nights, 7 Central, 8 Eastern. Paranormalities and Ponderings on Tuesday night, 8 Central, 9 Eastern. Paranormal Experience, 7 Central, 8 Eastern. Parley with Michael Gray, Thursday night, 7 Central, 8 Eastern. Saturday, Two-Faced News, 8 Central, 9 Eastern. And Sunday, Blackthorn Path at 7 Central, 8 Eastern. Looking for drama and nonsense? Look somewhere else. If you're looking for the best in paranormal news, tech tips, advice, and entertainment, stay tuned. That's all we do. Here on the CJ Mars Radio Network. Thanks for listening.